Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week I decided it was time to start making things for Christmas. See you in a minute. Now I know it's early and I know everyone doesn't want to know about Christmas yet, but fact remains, if you're making things for craft shows or if you're making things for gifts, this is the time to be doing it. So I'm going to have a look at this week at making a little reindeer out of a couple of logs. These are the sort of things we've been knocking out for years at Men in Sheds. It's a fairly simple affair. I'm just going to run through how to do it now. So let's start off. All we need to start with are just basically a couple of pieces of log. I've just got some bits that had fallen down when we picked them up when we've been out walking, and sliced a couple of lengths off. Those are what I've got at the moment. Let's start with the head, because that's the most difficult and complex bit of the whole affair. The rest of it is very easy. So the first thing to do is to mark the head out and take a position somewhere probably just over halfway down and make a mark there. What you've got to do effectively is to take off a pair of cheeks to give you a snout shape that go from somewhere around halfway down and go back to a pointed, well, a point at the end where the nose is, and then a line across, say roughly just probably this side of half, and a slope back into that where that cheek comes out the side. That's roughly what I shall be doing. What you need is effectively, we're going to cut those side pieces off there and there with the bandsaw, and then we're going to cut down at that point about a third of the way down, probably a bit further, maybe even halfway down, and take the slope downwards towards the front end about here somewhere. So effectively you've got like the nose of an aircraft almost. So I'm going to take this to the bandsaw. It's a bit difficult to know. I mean, these things can be cut by hand with a normal saw. A bow saw is probably better than a normal saw with this sort of green wood, because it's so difficult to cut when it's damp. But I'm going to just stick it in the bandsaw, see how we get on with that. I'm putting a couple of clamps on for no reason other than to hold it in one plane. So that's getting the basic shape. What I've got to do now is pull those two side pieces and cut those out, and really the best thing for that is a handsaw, and they'll give the facets that the eyes will go on. One of the biggest problems with these is actually holding them down to do any sawing. You don't need to use a bandsaw, you could use a handsaw to do any of these cuts. It's just so much easier, but when you come to this one, it becomes very difficult on the bandsaw. All we're doing now is just basically taking a cut there, and that's pretty much it then. Really, it's a matter of sanding and finishing it with a file perhaps, just to get the final the saw marks out. But that's essentially the head shape is done. So all that's got to be done now on both on the head and the body is to drill some holes. Right, now we have the two basic parts of the reindeer. I've just been out in the garden and chopped up a length of, I think it was a Budleia or a Forsythia, I'm not sure which. I'm going to cut that into lengths about 100mm long. That'll be the legs. I've got some smaller pieces of shrub I've cut down, and from those we'll make the antlers and we'll make the tail. And there's a length that's a little bit narrower that I'll probably use to make a neck out of. So we'll start off with the legs and the body, and we'll cut that into 4-inch lengths or thereabouts and drill some holes in the body ready for those. Correction, I've just looked at, they're probably about 6 inches long for 150mm. I'm using green wood, so it cuts quite nicely. If you've got a problem with the size of the hole, you can just turn the ends of the wood down on a belt sander or something, or whittle them down. What I'm going to do now is just I've got some Forstner bits that are useful, but any sort of drill bit, just try and match them to the size of the twig roughly. So I've got the body clamped down on the bench, get a drill, and then all I'm going to do is just drill 4 holes roughly where the legs would go in. That's it. Just try those in for size. Yeah, they're slightly large at the moment, those, but we'll use the expanding foam glue in them. But that gives you your basic reindeer body. We can adjust the size, the length of the legs later on if need be. Next is to drill a hole in the top for the neck, and that wants to be slightly facing forwards. That's it. That should take a piece for the neck. It's a nice fit. Get a rough idea of length then as to how long we want it. Probably about that long. Just cut that down as well. So then we've got a neck, and now we need to do a corresponding hole in the head, sloping very slightly forwards again, just to carry it on in the right direction. Into the head. So we now have a reindeer coming along. So what's missing? Well, obviously it could do with a tail, and it could do with some antlers, and that's where this thinner timber comes in. These are just scraps of timber that have, or wood that's been cut down from shrubs, all sorts of shapes, and essentially we're looking for something probably that sort of shape to make the antlers out of. Just trim these back a bit with some secateurs, get them all roughly the same length. They'll be going in the head. That's one, and same with the other one. Just trim it down a bit for length. Just depends on what you can get. And then some of these offcuts, you can use one then for the tail, which will just go in the back. That really is a tight fit. There we go. Now we've glued the legs in. I've used Mitre Bond at the moment purely because it's a quick and easy fix. I haven't glued the antlers in because they were a push fit, and the neck into the body was a push fit, so that's okay. But that's now pretty much looking like a reindeer. What it's missing is a face, obviously. What we've got to put on there are some eyes that you can buy from eBay or the craft shops like Hobbycraft, that sort of thing. They'll be going on those flats either side, so we'll start with that. And again, at the moment I'm just going to use a bit of super glue. Probably hot glue gun might be just as good, I don't know. Put those on. So he started off as no idea, and now he's got two eyes. And the only thing missing then, of course, every reindeer has to have a red nose. From the same source, we've got some little pom-poms, just in like a felt type of material. Just pop one of those on, and there we are. Job complete. One reindeer for Christmas, made out of scraps in probably a matter of half an hour if you were not trying very hard. At many sheds we are now mass producing them. I think they were checking today, they've got 60 odd in production. We usually sell a lot of these. They sell about £7 or £8 a piece at craft fairs and things like that. So it's just something to make for Christmas. Well, I hope that was of interest and maybe of use. Look forward to seeing you next week. We'll make something different. See you. Bye.